Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show.
But it didn't stop, Jeremiah. It didn't stop.
Carrie, this is probably the most intense, one of the most intense stories I've ever heard. I mean, I've been speechless the whole time.
Try living it.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. And this is it Rankin Bottoms WMA?
RANKIN, Rankin Hill Road. But a lot of people call it the Bottoms or Rankin Bottoms. Yep.
Okay. And it's like on a
wildlife
peninsula.
refuge.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That's where we lived. Yep, near the end of that peninsula, surrounded by Yep, that was it. Yep.
Have you talked to Harley about all this?
I have not. I sent him a Facebook message, but I think he gets so many from so many people. I've not been able to actually talk to him yet. I'm sure he's overwhelmed by people bullying him and people messaging him left and right. But I have not. I have reached out to him, but I have not. But I would love to be able to talk to him, one-on-one and compare some of these things and encourage him, because I got attacked too and bullied in the beginning. I mean, viciously attacked, and and you do have to have some tough skin. I guess when you get older, you just get to the point where and I tried to encourage him on his Facebook. I sent him something and I said, Harley, it doesn't matter what people think. And he believes in God too. I heard him say that. And I said, you believe what I said, you know what you saw, God knows what you saw, and you know it's the truth. So it does not matter what other people think or believe. You know it's the truth. So you just need to keep speaking what you're speaking. It doesn't matter what other people think. You answer to one person, God and yourself, and that's all you need to worry about, nothing else. He needs to just ignore those other people, because they want to shut you up. They don't want. If the truth, think about it. If the truth really got out there, what if I don't know what these things are? They didn't answer me. What if they are a Nephilim? Do you know how? What if they're not? What if there's some kind of military do you know how much that would change all the national parks? That would just pretty much probably wipe them out, and all the money the states get for the national parks. Not to mention, if they were some kind of biblical creature, it would change. It could rewrite a whole lot of religions. It could just change everything, and mostly money wise. But I want people to know, because they need to be careful. I believe that just like the Bigfoots told me, I believe there are some good ones and there are some bad ones. And they said just like people, and I truly believe that. And I do believe a lot of these people that go missing, that got snatched. And, I heard a story from Paul Pilates about I hope I didn't butcher his last name. The little boy, I don't remember his name, Stevie. I don't remember. He was like 4, and his family and was camping or something. He went over the hill and he just disappeared. Yep. I mean, it was a split second. Or I've heard stories about people doing tree counting, and they turn around to tell the guy 10, 15 feet behind them, carrying the clipboard, and they're gone. If they can move as fast as a hummingbird, yes, they could run by, snatch somebody up so quick they could come out of their shoes and be gone without you even seeing them. And if they're strong enough to pop a fiberglass dent out of my truck, completely smooth, that's like superhuman strength. That's nothing of, that's no humans. We don't have human capabilities to move that fast. We don't have human capabilities to talk to somebody in their mind. That's why it bothers me when people say that they're a primate. Primates cannot talk to you in your head. I might believe that if they didn't talk to me in my head. And I like I said, I would be glad to take a lie detector test any day on that. I still can't even believe that happened, and that happened again recently with those light wands I sent you. Did you get that picture?
Yep.
That was so great that we're talking about them here. Well, Indiana was kind of short. We were there for like a year, and it was all cornfields. It was very flat. We loved it. I liked it because I could see. I could see what was around. I did miss the forest a lot, and there wasn't really wildlife where we were. But as soon as we were there, it was an older farmhouse, and I couldn't really do the stairs. But my dog would not sleep near the window. And if you've ever seen a typical farmhouse, it's got the two kind of layers. It looks like the classic farmhouse. And the one layer, you can jump up on this little cinder concrete wall that's about shin high and jump up, 6 feet, 7 feet, jump up on the first layer of the roof. For that first layer of the roof would carry you. There's a little nook that meets with the second layer of the roof, and then it goes right to my bedroom window. And if I didn't send you pictures of that, I will, but I think I did. As soon as we moved in, tap, 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 I'm like, oh, please, no, this can't, not again. So I told my husband, I'm like, okay, let's sleep downstairs. You're going to like this one. So I said, let's sleep downstairs on the air mattress until we paid a moving company to unload our stuff from the Penske truck. So we're sleeping downstairs in the air mattress, right underneath the two living room windows that are, like I said, knee high off the floor. These windows were too, and there's 2 or 3 of them in the living room. And there was a bunch of pea gravel in the front of this house too, in the front of the windows. And all of a sudden, I hear crunch, 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 and you can hear something bipedal walking. I'm thinking, please, no, not here, no. And then all of a sudden, I hear something, get ready for this one, sniffing at the window. Imagine Clifford the big red dog, that loud, sniffing me. And I'm like, it was not like a normal dog sniffing. Oh, no. I'm taking normal dog sniffing, multiply that by like 50. And I'm like, what? Sniffing me? And I'm laying there, and I went to each side of the window, and it had snow, whatever it was, snows right up to the window, sniffing me. And I could not believe it. So I told my husband the next morning, we slept on the other side of the living room until the movers got there. And we digress for a second. My daughter moved in that following year, and I didn't tell her about this part, but she says, guess what, guys? I was downstairs sitting on the couch texting, and she was like 22, 23 at the time, and she says, the TV wasn't on, nothing was on. I was just texting, my husband telling him, I'm here visiting you, whatever. I'll be home in a couple weeks. And all of a sudden, I heard something at the window. She's like, guys, I'm telling you the truth. She's like, I promise you, I'm telling the truth. I heard something sniffing me at the window. And I looked at my husband. I'm like, uh-huh. And she's like, did you hear that? I'm like, yep. So she told me the exact same thing happened to her, and I never even told her that this happened to me. And then her bedroom was upstairs with ours. And within 5 months of living at this place, Jeremiah, 5 months, this whole farmhouse had been redone. It was beautiful. They did a beautiful job inside. I mean, everything. Floor to ceiling had been done. Cabinets, bathrooms, everything, except the stairs. Everything had been redone. And within 5 months of living at this place, they had worn the shingles completely off the roof in one path right to my bedroom window, the spot on the room where I slept. And the only reason that I slept on this side, that me and my husband didn't switch sides, is because that's the only spot in the room where my dog's bed would fit. And his bed is like the size, he's 130 pounds, so his bed is like the size of a toddler bed. It wouldn't fit anywhere else. And he would not sleep in that bed. He would not go anywhere near that window. He would lay in the hard hallway floor. And this dog, like I said, I take a shower. I try to, do my business in the toilet. And he's like, he will not leave my side. Like he's sitting here right now. Like this dog doesn't go more than 6 inches away from me, and he would not go anywhere near that window. Anywhere. He would not sleep in his bed, and he wouldn't go. And I'm like, and I tried that. I gave him treats. I gave him his favorite stuffed animal. Nothing. He would not lay in that bed for anything. And they would tap on the window. Finally, I just kept ignoring him, and I would pray and I read. I stuck a Bible inside the curtain one night, and nothing seemed to work. And finally, they started tapping on the window, and I already knew they were there. And I got so freaking sick of it. Finally, I jerked the curtain. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to see what's there. I'm just going to have enough, kahunas to just open the curtain and just see if anything there. I'm sick of this crap. So I did. Why would I do that? Why would I think something wouldn't be there? Why? I have no idea, because I'm an idiot. Of course something's going to be there. Something's always been there. So I jerked the curtain open, and I see these yellow lime. I had to look up I know it sounds kind of silly, but I had to look up what the color lime green meant. It's a little bit of amber, a little bit of brown, a little bit of yellow, gold, and a little bit of green. So I'm calling them lime green eyes. That's what I saw. 2 of them, and they were the size of golf balls. They were spread apart. I got a normal size woman's hand. They were spread apart, eyeball from eyeball, from the end of my middle finger to the first, probably second line of my wrist, that far apart. So that, I don't know, it's 6 inches, 7 inches apart. And the crazy thing was, I couldn't see anybody because it was really dark that night. There was no moon, of course, and I could see this thing, and it was going up, like way up and way down and way up and way down. Let's just imagine the ocean wave doing that. That's how it was doing, and it kept doing that. And I saw it, and I got so scared, I turned so quick and ripped that curtain back. When I jerked and turned, I tore my meniscus in my knee. That's how hard and fast I turned, because it scared me so bad. And it dropped me right to the floor. And I'm crawling across the room, and my husband's like, "Dear God, what happened? Why are you on the floor?" Oh, it hurt so bad. Yeah, and that ended my walking there for several months. Yep. And that right after that, this is when my daughter moved in. But right before she moved in, we kept hearing them jump. It almost sounded like they would run and leap onto the roof and run across the roof, and then jump off all night long. All night long they would do that. And we just kept thinking, I'm like, okay, maybe it's a bird. I'm like, how can a bird be that heavy? Maybe it's this. Maybe there's nothing else it could have been. There was nothing around. Where this house was out in the middle of nowhere, like I said. The more remote you live, so do other things, because they don't want to be seen. So where are you going to go if you don't want to be seen? As remote as possible. Well, we like remote too, because it's quiet and you get away from the crazy of the world, and you can have your own little piece of heaven, so to speak, and have your own little serenity and not have to deal with neighbors fighting or the cops or shootings or whatever craziness of the world going on. So they kept jumping on the roof and running across. And that within 5 months, we had to turn an insurance claim in on our house, $18,000 insurance claim for a brand new roof, because they literally tore the shingles off the roof in one path. Well, when the roofers came out, one company came out and they saw it looked like a melted in half of a dog footprint, not a Bigfoot, like a dog footprint. And I don't know that these were Bigfoots. So I said, they were like, "Why'd you have your dog on the roof?" I'm like, dude, like, how am I going to get my dog on the roof? And why would I put him on the roof? It's the middle of summer. That's the craziest. Well, I didn't do that. And they're like, "Yeah, we discussed it. We're not going to take this job." And they split. And I'm like, okay. So we called another roofing company. And they were like, "It's kind of weird that there's a path, just one path directly to your window, or this one window." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's where I sleep." And they're like, "Well, why are you guys running it back and forth across here? Your kids. I'm like, my kids are grown. And I'm like, nobody's running across the roof. And they're like, well, the rest of the roof was fine. This part is the only part that's worn down. It's a direct path. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, what do you want me to say? Like, so now, our house insurance is sky high because of that $18,000 claim for a new roof that had to get put on. And I took pictures of that half of that melted. It was melted into the shingle. It was crazy. And then I took pictures of where the path was tore down, like worn off. The shingles weren't, and they said that they couldn't just do one half. They had to all match, so they had to replace the whole roof. That's why they had to do a whole new roof. They can't just, and they didn't have those shingles anymore. So when my son-in-law came to visit, I was telling him about it. He's a big guy. 6'6", 260, 70 pounds. And he's about 26 now. And I told him, and he's like, yeah. He was just looking at me like, okay. And he's looking at my daughter like, your mom's crazy. And she's looking at him like, I told you. I don't think she knows I think she believes I saw something, but because she knows, anybody who knows me, including my friend Angela that told me about you, they know that I tell the truth. Like I tell it like it is, even if it's hurts your feelings. Sometimes I'm too blunt, but I just try to be honest, as honest as I can be. And if I don't know something, I'm just going to straight up say, I don't know. I don't know. But I told him about it, and he came and he vaped, and I'm like, we don't smoke or we don't drink, so don't bring any alcohol in the house if you drink. And I said, if you vape or whatever, just please don't do it in the house. So he went outside to vape. It was like 10 o'clock. We were asleep. And he comes upstairs and he's knocking. Our bedroom door was open. He's tapping on the door, and I'm like, his name's Kirk, and I'm like, yes, Kirk, and he's like, something just happened. You might want to know. And he was all out of breath. And I turned the light on. His face was pale white, and he's got the big old beard, going down. It's the new thing, and he's got dark hair, but his face was pale white, and I'm like I knew something bad had happened. And I had a feeling like I knew what it was. And I'm like, yes. And he says, well, I went out to the pole barn just to stand behind the barn and vape and just kind of enjoy the stars out there, because it was beautiful. You could see the stars at night. And there was corn up, so there was a lot of corn you couldn't see. And the corn was like 8 feet high. And he says, all of a sudden I heard something coming through the corn. And I thought it was a deer, but then it sounded like 2 legs crunching and walking, and I got scared. And I'm like, why'd you get scared? He's like, because I smelled a smell that started gagging me. And I just, all of a sudden, by itself, my hair on my arm started standing up. And it was getting closer to me. It sounded like it was stomping. He's like, and I don't know, I just got this overwhelming sense of fear. He's like, so I ran. He's like, my vape's still laying out there. I'm like, you dropped it? He's like, yeah, I ran. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, is the door locked? He's like, I think so. I'm like, can you please go make sure the door's locked? He's like, and he calls my daughter. She's like 5'2". They go make sure the door's locked. So yeah, it scared him, and he said he never did see what it was. But after that, I couldn't get them to come back. They would not even come. My daughter, he would not come back to that house. Nope, he refused to come back at all. Wouldn't come back. And when right after that, when I would walk on that road too, and the corn would be right beside the road. And the same thing, but this time it was different. I could hear something in the corn, but I got a very scared feeling, not a feeling like I did when I knew the Bigfoots were around. I got a feeling like I was in danger, like something was about to happen, like something was about to grab me, danger. And I stopped, and my dog, he was so freaked out, kept looking at the corn the whole time and growling, like I couldn't even get him to walk because I was so busy dragging him. And I just stopped walking, and finally, after that all of that stuff happened. The last thing that happened at this house before we moved here was I was sitting in the car. We just got back from Sam's Club. It was like 30 minutes away in Lafayette, Indiana. Well, my husband took the stuff in the house, and it was cold. It was wintertime, and it was dark. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and I was sitting out in the car, and I was texting my daughter, telling her we just got home. I was not going to text and drive, so as soon as we pulled up, and I can't text fast. I text like one finger. It's really embarrassing. So I text really slow, and I'm texting and telling her we just got home, everything's good, and all of a sudden, it was weird. Out of the corner of my eye, so I'm facing, we had a pole barn, a 2-car garage pole barn, and if you pull up in the driveway, the house is on the left, and the pole barn is at the end of the driveway. You're facing it. And then behind the pole barn is corn, all around it, everywhere you can look, as far as the eye can see. Corn everywhere, no houses. And this was in Wolcott, Indiana, Wolcott, about 25 miles from Lafayette, upper Indiana, northern Indiana, on the Illinois side. And we were only like 30 minutes from, the Illinois border, maybe 40 minutes. So out of my peripheral vision, I saw something go by so fast. It was solid black. The only thing I could see is it looked like tires, 2 black tires rolling, because I could see the knees coming up and down, and they were going so fast. It looked like 2 tires like rolling together in the same fluid motion, and it went by so quick. And I had my door open because I was getting ready to get out, and I had half, 1 foot out of the door, and I was halfway sitting in the seat, and I heard the corn when it crossed the road, small little country road. Everything in there is like you go in squares, big squares all around these farms. So I heard the corn like exploding and like crashing and cracking when it busted into the corn. Last corner of the football field, a length away from where I was sitting, and at that as soon as that went by me, my husband, I was so scared, I was terrified. And it wasn't because I saw it. Whatever this energy, this thing put off an energy of fear, like death and fear. Like I was terrified beyond terror. Like I was ready to start beep, 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 honking. I was ready to drive away. But then I didn't want my husband coming outside, drive away from my own house. That's how scared I was. And the second I got ready to start laying on the horn, he opened the door, and he was like, I just saw something crash in the cornfield. I don't know what it was. Get in the house now. Get in the house. And he's like, I just feel very scared. And I'm like, what? And yeah. And as soon as I opened the car door and I stepped out, and he stepped out the front door, it hit us both at the same time. We started gagging. Like the smell of ammonia and sulfur was so strong. Like when people say they're gagging from the smell, my mouth was watering so much I couldn't swallow all the saliva down so fast, and it was like choking me and burning my nose to the point where I was almost throwing up, gagging. And him too. And I'm like, look, we couldn't talk then, and I ran in the house, hobbled in the house fast as I could and shut the door. And finally, after, 30 seconds, we could breathe, get that smell out of our nostrils. I'm like, look, if it was a skunk, which I know it's not because it smelled nothing like a skunk at all. It smelled like sulfur and ammonia. And I said, if it's a skunk, there's no wind outside, which was unusual for this area because we lived in the area where all the big giant metal windmills were up. And one of these blades, because I've seen them, they went down our street putting new ones up as the length of an airplane, just one blade. They are ginormous. So I said, and it was windy there, but not where we lived that day. That day wasn't. So I said, if it's a skunk, there's no wind, that smell will still be here when we open the door. Let's wait, 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes and see. He's like, okay. So 2 minutes had passed, and we opened the door, not even 5 minutes, and the smell was completely gone. So if it was a skunk or some animal, why would the smell be completely gone. If you hit a skunk, the smell lingers for like weeks. It's like the smell, like it stays in your radiator. Like you can't ever get rid of that smell out of your nose. It doesn't go away in 2 or 3 minutes. Not completely away. That was just so strange. And after that, that was about the last thing, which I think was quite enough that had happened there. But the same thing. Tap on the windows sometimes, not as much as they did in Tennessee, and not as much as they do here. But I don't know that it was the same thing that I was dealing with. Something there, I don't know. It felt bad, like bad. The house didn't, but whatever that creature I saw was, that felt bad. And then we got here, and it's been even crazier.
Carrie, this is absolutely incredible. It's crazy to think we made it through Tennessee. We made it through Indiana.
I know, right?
You weren't kidding. There's a lot to talk about. I think this is definitely going to take a more than one episode to get through.
Yep.
If you would be okay with coming on at a later time.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
This is incredible, Carrie.
Probably the best one. Here's I've got the best evidence out of anywhere we lived so far. so I don't know. Was it all building up to here? Who knows? I don't know. But I didn't even realize we were that close to Mammoth Cave until we got here, and then I'm like, oh, great.
Well, that's
then
right.
Somebody said, oh. I heard. Yep, I heard you're at ground zero. I'm like, thanks. Yep. I know that now.
So you're near Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, and oh my goodness.
And we have a cave in Jeremiah. We have a cave on our property. 2 of them.
Goodness.
2 of them on the property. Yep. I got a picture of the opening of one, but there's somebody said, "Did you go in?" I'm like, what are you smoking? No, I'm not going in there. Are you crazy? I like to keep my limbs in my head. No. I got those light beam pictures. Those were insane. I got those. It hadn't stormed. We were talking about, it was crazy. My husband's like, wow, we haven't really had any Bigfoot activity here, have we? And I'm like, no, not really. And then all of a sudden, it's what it sounded like when everything our Alexa and everything we got went powered down. And we're like, what just happened? Like the house was like black because it was nighttime. And I'm like, oh, I'm scared. I'm like, what did you say? He's like, I don't know. That was kind of dumb, was it? I'm like, yeah, it was kind of dumb. And then all of a sudden I heard, and I ran in the bedroom to get the flashlight. Well, stumbled in the bedroom, I should say, because it was pitch black. And I didn't even have my phone on me. So I go in the bedroom to grab my phone and grab a flashlight, which I have stashed in all the right places now after all these experiences. I'm like a Bigfoot prepper. I know what to stash, where and when. So I heard in my head, it was like this. You want to see something cool? Look out your window. And I'm like, oh, no, I didn't just hear that. No. So I'm like, there's no way I'm doing the window thing again. So I stuck my phone on the other side of the window and started snapping pictures. And that's when I got those light wands. And I knew they were out in the front yard. It was pitch black that night. We had no storms. There hadn't been any storms that day. There hadn't been any storms in like 4 or 5 days. Nothing, not even rain. And it was pitch black, and it was like, I want to say 9 o'clock, 10, maybe 10 o'clock at night. I don't know. It's kind of late, not too late, but yeah. And then I looked at the pictures later, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at those! Like, we don't have any lights outside. We don't have anything to put off lights. Only thing is, we're on the top of a hill, a small mountain. We got a flag, and there's trees, and more trees, and hills. And on the other side of the trees, our neighbor down the road told us that used to be, he's like, if you ever want to go walking around, don't ever go down in this area. And we're like, why? He said, because this used to be old mines, and there's a whole bunch of empty mines all throughout here. We're like, mines, like holes in the ground. He's like, yes, holes in the ground, coal mines, and they abandoned them, and it was like 100 years ago, and they've just leaves and brush have grown over them, so nobody even really knows where the holes are anymore. And I said, how do you know this? He's like, because I used to own these 19 acres right here, and I sold it recently to a logging company because I can't even use the land because there's so many old mines. I literally can look out my closet room bedroom window and see like the big I guess you would call it a holler, like a big dip, flattened out kind of spot, goes way down in between two mountains where all these caves are. So yeah, and there's water and there's plenty of food and they're here too. We had to unplug the girl. He had to pull the circuit breaker out of we have a lower garage building here. It's a 4.5 car garage, cinder block building. And their new thing is they've been opening the doors. You open this one little door, you go, and they used to be like a body shop down there that people own the house for. It's a normal door, and they open the door. I mean, it's not locked. You can open the door, and you go in there, and there's a panel on the wall, and you just push a button, and any door will open. The other day, I'm out there, and I hear a bunch of sticks breaking. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm, shaking out my dog's blanket. He has his own little blankie. Yes, he's a vicious Rottweiler. He sleeps with Daddy Bear in a blankie. So I'm shaking on his blanket, and I hear a bunch of sticks breaking like a bear. It sounds like a bear sliding down a tree, except there isn't. Everybody says there's no bears around where we're at, and I haven't seen any signs of one. And all of a sudden, I hear the garage, and I'm like, what? That sounds like your garage door. I'm like, what? So I told my husband, he's like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, they're opening the doors again? I'm like, what do you mean? Opening? He's like, yeah, they've been opening them all week long, playing a game with me. They'll open one, I'll shut it, I'll come back the next day, the other one's open. I'll shut that, I'll come back the next day, the different one's open. We called an electrician out, and he called a supervisor, and they spent like 2 hours out here and went over everything, and they said nothing is wrong with the panel at all. So he said if it keeps going up and down, he said just pull the circuit breaker thing out. So, yep, we had to pull the circuit breaker board out because they kept opening the garage doors down there.
That is absolutely incredible. And so you're having Bigfoot activity on your property as well near Mammoth Cave?
Oh yeah, big time. And they're climbing. We have a 7-foot long little skinny window. I haven't seen one before, so I don't really know what it's called. It's like a long window above your bed, maybe a foot from before you get, like, it'd be as high as a little bit lower than the top of a door frame, but it's above the bed. So in the morning, if you want, you wake up and the sunlight's coming in. Well, I don't want sunshine in my eyes first thing in the morning, so I have a little curtain put up there. We did have it open at first until I felt like something was looking at me at the window. And I told my husband that, and there's these little brick things. They're like borders. You put them up, they stand up, and they're kind of like, they got humps on them, and you put them around your flower beds. And they kept all being knocked down. And he was like, are you knocking down these brick wall border things? I'm like, God, no, heck no. Those things are, he's like, because they're all flattened out right underneath the window. And he said there's greasy or oily handprints. Looks like someone had oil, like baby oil in their hands. And they're all like lots of them. Like when I say lots of them, too many to even count. It was either multiple times been going on or more than one, where something was up there looking in the window, and they got their handprints all over the vinyl siding of the house. They're still there. The sunlight hits it right. I can get really good shots of the pictures. They don't come off. It rains and rains and rains. It could be torrential rain here, and those handprints don't come off because they're oily, and they're all over the side, right underneath of that window. And guess whose side they're on? My side. Of course, my side. Yep. And they're all, so something and it's about, and the crazy part is it's higher than 8 feet off the ground. It's about 9 feet off the ground. So I don't know if they're that tall, or if they're climbing on each other's backs and put to look in the window. But I put curtains up, and since I put little curtains up to block that off, the curtains are too long, but I don't care. I feel like I can sleep and not be fear like something's looking at me. Since I put curtains up, they'll be, throwing little pebbles at the window, and the same thing with the back deck. Dogs can't even go out there. They can't even go out there at all. Right after we moved in, it was like they let us know, hey, we got you here. We know you're here. As soon as we moved in end of November, 1st of December of last year, and the first week of January, and I thought turtles hibernated. Oh, there was 6 turtles the size of dinner plates almost, all lined up on our front porch. First of all, we got big concrete stairs. The whole front porch is a big concrete covered front porch. And these turtles, they were bigger than the size of like a 70-page notebook. Like I said, they were the size of dinner plates. And it's like something set them all at the front door. They were all lined up. And I opened the front door and I'm like, babe, come here. We got a situation. He's like, what in God's name is that? What time? I'm like, I don't know. So he stacked them all up on top of each other. He carried them all. He carried a stack of 3 all stacked on top of each other, with his hands, holding the sides of the shelves. It took 2 arms. They were so big. I got pictures of that too. And then he carried down to the woods, and there's a pond down there too. Goes down in like a holler, a big dip. There's a pond down there. Oh, and then he carried the other 3 stacked down there and set at the edge of the woods. Oh, and I was going to tell you, and in the wintertime, 2 things. I saw exactly what Harley saw. Right in front of the cave, there is this one tree, and it's probably, I don't know, as wide around as, like, say, a recliner seat. And it goes down into a holler, so it's hard to say how tall it is, but I would say, at least 30 feet high. The whole top of the tree is not broken off, but it's twisted like a spiral, exactly like Harley said, twisted, just like they did the deer leg, twisted round and round and then ripped off, and not one other tree around it is messed up. And that tree is directly in front of the cave opening, And I got pictures of that too. I got pictures of the cave opening in the winter, and the tree. We were trying to find a church to go to since COVID. We've been having it at home, and that we kept hearing this bell ring. And finally, we found a church that's literally right, like you could see it from the end of our driveway. How convenient, right? We could walk there if we wanted. And we were going to the church, and my husband's like, whoa, look at that tree. He's like, oh, my God, it was so white. You couldn't miss it. Like, it just happened. And the crazy thing is, and he said it, and I said it too, but I don't even know how it's possible. Sometimes we both have felt like they can hear what we're saying inside the house, like the power. They've done that to us in Tennessee. They did that to us, and they did it to us here in Kentucky. And like, how can they hear what we're saying inside the house? But they did. And we were just talking about getting close to the cave. This is wintertime. It was still cold. Getting close to the cave and not going in it, and maybe shining a light in there with our, their big handheld light, and then zooming up with their phone and taking a picture. Definitely, we agreed, not going in there. And as soon as we talked about that, the next day on the way to church, that's when we saw the tree, the whole top of it, like twisted. But no other tree around it is messed up. And there's trees all around it. It's in the middle of the forest. I can see why the Bigfoots here would be totally ticked off. I can tell you right now, it's upsetting to me. They logged the bejesus out of here. We have seen, we counted, a daily during the day, and I don't even know where all these trees are coming from. There's a log truck. We've seen 10 log trucks go by almost every day. And one day traffic had stopped because they were doing road work, 60 trees on it. And these trees, oh my gosh, they're probably as big around as a recliner, one tree. And there's 60 of them on there. Now imagine 10 of those a day. That's 600 trees a day. And we see at least 10 logging trucks go by every single day, Monday through Friday. They are logging the, I don't even know how there's any forest left here. I really don't. That's why they hate, that's why they would hate us, because we're tearing down all their forest.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that the logging was that bad. That's a lot of logging.
Are you actually inside the state park?
No, we are not.
Okay.
We are 19 miles away from there.
Gotcha.
But we are right across the street, once again, from a wildlife refuge. I think it's called Peabody. I have to look it up again. I think it's called Peabody State Refuge or Peabody Wildlife Management Refuge. The road is like half a mile away from our house, if that. I think it's called Peabody Wildlife Management. But it goes a long, we drove down the road and it's right across the street from our house, and it goes a long ways. Oh, way, way back in there. And there's no houses, there's nothing. But you can drive down through there.
Gotcha. So we're talking about Western Kentucky then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you had any visuals of Bigfoot around your property this time?
Yes.
Or?
Yes. One of the garages in the back, the people we bought it from had a body shop. In the last garage, they didn't put a top on it. So it's all cinder blocked walls, wall in the back. This is the other thing. Yeah, wall in the back, wall on the side with the window, and then a big bay door, but they didn't put the bay door on it, and they left the whole pallet of cinder blocks out there because they sold the house. They were going to make it a spray paint booth, I guess, for auto body shop. So let me back up before I tell you this, because this goes along with it. The house has a metal roof. Well, the metal roof, I guess at some point had gotten painted. It used to be red. I don't know if it was red before it got put on and they paint it to protect it, or the owners, I don't know. But anyway, this half of the fourth bay, it's lower into the ground because it's like we're on top of a hill, and it's like they cut a chunk out of the I call it a mountain, but here they're called hills. It's a mountain to me. We're on a mountain. It's like they cut a chunk out of the mountain and put the house here to flatten it out. So the garage back there, the fourth one kind of goes down a little bit. So anyway, part of it is a cinder block wall you can stand on that's like, I don't know, 5 feet off the ground. I can't climb on that because I'm only 5'6". I mean, but a Bigfoot certainly could, or something. So anyway, you can climb on that and jump right on the roof. All parts of that corner of the roof have started getting torn up. It looks like scratch marks on it, like something running up and down it. No other part of that roof except that part. Do I know for sure they're doing it? No, but we just bought the house 7 months ago, and it was fine. And now all of a sudden, the exact same thing is starting to happen again. That whole section is all getting torn off and ripped up. And I told my husband, I said, I'm pretty sure I just heard a whoop outside. So he's like, let's go outside and whistle. So he whistles, and they'll whistle back at him. I can't whistle like he can. He'll just randomly do random crazy whistles, and whenever he whistles, they will copy exactly what he'll do, and he'll do right back. But way, way louder than a bird. So he'll start laughing, thinking it's funny. It's like a game. And then he goes in the house. He's like, I need to drink water. I'll be right back. He's like, I got to wet my whistle. Get it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so dumb. So he goes in the house and I'm standing there and I'm just like waiting, and I'm on and it's a deck. It's a long deck, 40-foot long deck. Some of it's covered and some of it's part of it's not. So I'm standing there in the sun, just looking at the part of the garage that doesn't have a top on it. And all of a sudden, I see this face pop over the wall, and I saw its face in daylight. I actually saw its face, and it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. But it peeked over the wall and saw me, and it was crazy because it went real. I see why they don't get spotted, because they don't do quick jerky motions. They do very slow, fluid motions, up or down, or they don't do something quick to catch your attention, your peripheral vision. It went straight up and popped its head over real quick over the wall and looked dead at me. And I was like, and I was looking right at it, and I thought my heart stopped. And then it went right back down, very slow, and was gone. And my husband pops out. He's like, okay, I got a drink. And I'm like, you shouldn't have left. He's like, something happened, didn't it? I'm like, of course. And he's, what'd you say? What'd you say? Yeah, I saw its face. It looked like a young one. It looked like who knows? I got nothing to compare it to. I mean, I would say a teenager. It looked like a man. If you ever came, I see why people say they couldn't shoot. It looked just like a man, but with hair. It kind of looked like an aboriginal, like dirty man. It had a lot of hair all over its face, but young. You could tell it was young because it had kind of a smirk, like it was a funny game, like popping it, like peeking its head over the wall, like, haha, I know he went in, I can see you, and then it went its head right back down. And it had giant round eyes. I could see the whites of its eyes. Oh, I was probably from the deck to where this building is, 50 feet, 40 feet. So I was close enough to see, for probably 40 feet. Yeah, 40 feet. I could see big, round, dark eyes, but I could see the whites of his eyes. It had same color skin, dark, like gray, like ashy color. Like if you've ever had a wood stove and that ash color kind of gets on the inside of the wood stove. It's like that. I didn't see hands. I just saw shoulders, and the shoulders were smaller. I did see a little bit of a neck on it. It didn't look as well developed. Maybe that's why I think it was a younger one, a teenager. Certainly didn't look like a baby, but it didn't look like the other ones, the big, fully developed, bulked out ones, with muscles and no neck and all that. And its hair was, all the ones I've seen, the sightings I've seen, the hair has always been very shiny, very clean, very well groomed. I mean, if you lived in the woods, you would be expecting to see matted up, dirty, knotted up hair with stuff all, and maybe they do that to camouflage themselves, because we're always finding, every morning, we are always finding sticks and leaves, like tiny little sticks, or stuff that could get stuck in your hair all over the back deck. And even at times it's not windy. And at first we were thinking it's animals, but it's all in different places all over the deck, little sticks. And finally we're like, maybe they're putting that stuff in their hair. I don't know. But yeah, it had a flat nose, a wide nose. It wasn't completely smashed flat to its face. I could see a bridge of a nose, but a wide bridge, probably the length of my thumb wide. The head was bigger than my head. It had dark brown, woody color hair, not like a tree, but darker. So I guess mahogany, but with not as much red in it, more dark chocolate, like a dark chocolate. There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. And I saw teeth because it smiled. It did a little smirk. It didn't open its mouth all the way, but I could see teeth, and it looked like giant chiclets, like in the front, like I could see two front teeth, like they were so wide, and they were white, like very white. But I couldn't see the whole tooth because it just did a little smirk, but I did see a neck. And the hair wasn't all the way completely covered in hair, filled in, I guess, like the big ones. The big ones just had thinner hair on its stomach and chest. But this one I could see, was a neck, a skinnier neck. So that's why I think it might have been a younger one, just playing a game. But the pond that, was probably, a football field. I'd be lucky to say that. A football field length away from inside my bedroom where I'm staying right now. During the wintertime, I was like, wow, that's a pond. And when we talked to the neighbor down the road, he said, yeah, that's an underground spring-fed pond. My wife grew up in her house, and she used to go fishing there at that pond. There used to be an old farm back there. So I got ready to ask him. I said, has there been anything And he's like, cut me off right there. He's like, nope, nothing. Nope, nothing happens around here. Nope, nothing. No, nope. And he wouldn't even let me get the word strange out. Shut me down right off the bat. So that told me, and that's when he said, if you ever want to go walking around, do not go over to this area because it's covered in snakes, and that's where an old mining ground used to be, and the miners abandoned it like 100 years ago and just left it. So there's holes everywhere that go into caves, mines, and who knows where they're not even marked. You could just be walking along, and all of a sudden you turn around and your buddy's gone into a hole somewhere. So, but when I saw the pond during the winter, we walked somewhat close to it, and then all of a sudden I told my husband, I said stop, and he's like, what? I'm like, look at that. It looked like okay, the best way I can describe it, when people get married, they have like the little wedding trellis looking thing, and it's got flowers completely covering it, all goes like all round, like rounded from one side, goes over the top and goes all the way down the other side. It looked like that, but more like square, like a hut. But it was very tiny. It was only like maybe 4 foot in depth, but it was about 8 feet high, and it was completely woven together. Like you could see sticks and leaves and vines, like braided. I've seen how vines grow because where we live, it's very jungly this time of year. It looks like they were braided so they would stay that way, sticks and vines and everything. And it's like if something stood inside that, backed up and stood inside that little half a hut looking thing, it doesn't have a door, and a deer were to come down to that pond, which that's the only water source anywhere close around this immediate area, all they got to do is step out and grab them. And it's something that's not naturally made, and it's right next to in front of the pond. So if the deer came from the back, which is where they would come from, most likely because it goes deep into the mountains and there's no houses back there. Where we live in the front, there is a road, so the deer would be less likely to come from this area. Doesn't mean they wouldn't, but they're more likely to come, from a more wooded area. So if they came from the back, all they'd have to do is step right out of this hut and grab one. And I took a picture of it, but I don't know if you can really tell what it is or not in the picture. I've got a phone, so if you looked at it on a computer, you might be able to do that. Oh my gosh! This is when we first moved in this house. The lady told us, she says, "Okay, I don't want to freak you out, but I used to have chickens, and we had a chicken coop back there. But my chickens kept disappearing, and I kept going through $40 worth of chicken feed every week. I haven't had chickens, so I don't know how much it costs to feed them until I looked it up. My sister has a farm, and I asked her, and she's like, no, that's way too much." And she said the chickens kept disappearing, and every week I had to keep getting new chickens or trying to find new chickens to get and feed. And she's like, finally, I just gave up on it because it became ridiculous. So, and she says, I had a deer feeder out there on the tree right out middle of the yard is fenced in. She said outside the fence, but the deer feeder kept getting twisted around and all the food was gone, the deer corn. And I couldn't afford that either, so I just took that in the middle of the yard. And I'm like, okay. So I said, well, when she got two little metal trash cans. They look like an Oscar the Grouch, from Sesame Street trash can, like one of those, like old metal trash can with the flat lid with the handle, and they're tiny. They're like come up to maybe the bottom of my knee, and they're pretty round, maybe 2 feet around, 24 inches around. So she had those filled with chicken feed, and she kept them on the back deck. So we move in, and as soon as we move in, we're hearing bam, 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 bam. Well, behind our house, there is a lot that fixes all the school buses and snow maintenance vehicles and stuff like that. It's just a guy that owns a business, and, he just fixes these on the side. And it's not like a full-time 24-hour big business. It's just a couple of guys. We thought that it was them, and then it amped up. Then we realized it was something banging on the garage doors, the lower building. And then we were ignoring it. So then something started banging on the roof of the house, super loud, and we were ignoring it. And then I said one night, I think something's picking those trash cans up right on the back deck. Our bedroom has 2 French doors on it, which I don't like. I wish it was a wall. It, of course, goes right to the deck. So I said, I think something is picking up those trash cans on the deck and moving them around. He's like, oh, it's probably a raccoon or something. I'm like, I don't think so. It sounds like they're being dropped, and it's pretty loud. So it's gotten, wherever we live, it's so bad. He sleeps with 2 pillows up against his ears just so he can sleep. Otherwise, we can't sleep. So then all of a sudden, we heard the loud bam. And the next morning, the trash can was dented, like a big dent in it, and a print. I'll send you a picture of that one. I don't think I sent you a picture of that one. Dented in half, like something just pushed down on it and just dented it. It was weird. And I realized, I opened it, and I saw a little bit of chicken feed, and I'm like, oh, they've been getting fed, and now there's new people, and they're not getting fed anymore, and they're peed off that they're not getting fed. That's what's going on. So we weren't feeding them, and then it got more aggressive. So then the next night, the roof that's covered, the metal roof on the back deck that's covered, stops right at where our bedroom door, our French doors are to our bedroom. So that's 5 feet from the bed, that metal roof, literally, 5 feet higher, so 10 feet. Then all of a sudden, 3 o'clock in the morning, we hear the garage door saying bam, bam, all night long, Jeremiah. They would bang loud all night long. There's nothing and nobody around that would be banging all night long. Nothing, nobody, nothing that loud and that close. So then all of a sudden, 3 o'clock in the morning, we hear this bam, so loud. Have you ever seen a cat get scared and it jumps straight up on all fours? That's what I did, except in the bed. My whole body just boom, came right straight up out of the air in the bed. I swear I thought I had a heart attack. It hit the roof so hard, it dented part of the roof in. There's a big, 2.5 foot dip in the roof now where it goes way down, probably 12-inch dent in the roof now, right over, right next outside our bedroom room, right to dent it in, bang, to get our attention. And finally, I got so mad, I stuck my face, I was not opening that door, I stuck my mouth up to the door, and I'm like, we are not feeding you, get out of here, in Jesus' name, get out of here. I said, get out of here. Yeah, and I told him, I said, stay off our roof. You're tearing it up. You've tore off the other one. Stay off the roof. And now you're screaming at the woods again like a nutcase. I guess it's a good thing there's no neighbors seeing me screaming at the woods, right? They probably have me committed. But Yeah, they've been banging and banging. The banging has just eased up, and that's when they went to the garage door opening thing. And since he pulled the circuit board out, or the breaker box out, or whatever he pulled out, something to do with the breakers, the like 2 days ago, or yesterday actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know what their next thing is going to be. That's kind of why I was afraid to talk to you at nighttime, because they come right up close to the house at nighttime to almost hear what we're saying. Just like, oh my gosh, I forgot the guy from Clay County. I cannot remember his name. You had on. He said they're outside watching me right now,
Mark
listening, and
Paul.
they ripped the whole. Yes, and he said he ripped the whole kitchen window out. His story, I heard, and I'm like, yeah, he's exactly right. They do. It's like they come close to the house at night. I feel like we're in a fishbowl. Like we are their entertainment. We are their TV. They come close to see, what do they do? We're boring people. We go to church, or we watch church on TV. We read our Bible. We listen to Caleb. There's nothing exciting happening here. We're not getting drunk. We're not screaming and yelling. We're not shooting up guns. I mean, we're not doing. We're boring. So I don't know why they find it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. My husband said a long time ago when he first met, he's like, "You're like a battery." He's like, "You always seem to attract things and people, and you draw off. It kind of, you feel it." Like, and my sister, I don't agree with it, because it's against what the Bible says, but she does it. She's actually psychic in South Carolina, and she's worked on that ability to do stuff. I have some of those abilities, not all of them. I don't know everything. I wouldn't play the lottery and stuff like that, but I can feel their energy. I would say I'm more of a sensitive, and can feel energies when they're around, especially if they're good or bad. And I feel them when they are around. And I think, I don't know, certain people can feel energies, and they put off an energy that you cannot ignore. It's so strong, like you just know when they're. I don't know how people can't know when they're around. It blows my mind, because they're so. I don't know. But like I said, those light ones I took, there was no storm, there wasn't anything, and then I went to take more, and my phone died, and I'm like, what? And I looked, and my phone was fully charged, 100% charged. I'm very neurotic about having my phone charged. Ever since all this has happened, I always want to make sure my phone is charged in case I need to take a picture or the power goes out. And when I went to get my phone after the power shut down, and I grabbed my phone, it said 100%. I ran to the bedroom closet. It's a big walk-in closet and has a window in it, and on the other side of the window is the front yard, and then the little country road, and it goes on the other side, this big ravine where all these mines are, and it's all overgrown, and it dips way down and goes in there, and very rocky, and just, I wouldn't walk, and I'm sure it's loaded with snakes. It probably is. And I just started taking pictures, because that's when I heard, hey, you want to see something cool? You want to see something? Hey, do you want to see something cool? And I'm like, what? Like, what? So, and yeah, I knew where to go. I knew that they were in the front. So I wasn't about to open that curtain again. I did that once before, and got hurt. Was not, yeah, but that's what, and I started to try to take more pictures, and then all of a sudden my phone was dead, and I'm like, it was blinking red, and that was it. It just shut down and wouldn't do anything else.
Do you ever think that, especially in the area that you're in right now, do you think there could be other cryptids like Dogman in that area as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not in this immediate area. And I only think that, but I don't know for sure. But I think it's mostly Bigfoots. But I don't know that for sure. There's 2 or 3 times that we've been here, and I have felt, and it may be the dad or the alpha, but I've been so terrified, and it's always been 3:30. I'll shake my husband, wake him up, and I'll just point at the wall. And I've told him, and he was like, and I'm like, and I whispered, there's something standing right, and that happened in Tennessee too, and well, in Indiana it was at the window, but it'll come right up to the wall and stand right there, and it can hear, and it's waiting to hear some. But I felt when it comes up to the wall, and I don't feel this when they're all around all the time, but with the alpha, I guess it's the alpha, it's got to be, because he puts off, and it's a he. I know it is. When he comes around to that behind the wall, oh my gosh! I literally want to. I'm like a little girl. I want to crawl into the bed and hide. I want to like hide behind. I want to cover up, and I don't even want to get under the covers and hide. I want to get out of there and hide. The overwhelming sense of fear comes over you, and it's almost like the fear factor starts happening before you even realize of what to be afraid of, if that makes sense. Hey, there's a Bigfoot out there. Then you get afraid. It's like they put off this energy so you feel the fear and the anxiety first, and then you realize that what's happening. Like, oh my gosh, why am I so afraid? And then you feel that they're standing right there. That's happened 3 or 4 times since we've been at this house, that the big one, whatever the big one means, has been right at that, standing right behind that window. And I honestly feel like it's tall enough to look in that window, and that window behind the bed, oh, it's from to the peek in the window, it's 9 feet off the ground.
Do you still have pets with you at this house?
Yes, the same 2 cats and the same 2 dogs, and I absolutely will never leave them outside on the deck alone. And like I said, the deck is it's pretty high up off the ground because we're on a mountain. And then the middle of the yard is fenced in because the lady before had a poodle or something to take out. And the middle of the yard is fenced in, and it connects right with that garage building. But both sides are surrounded with deep mountains. The back on the other side of the garage is deep mountains. And then I would never leave them outside alone. Never. Nope. Not after how fast I've seen that Bigfoot can move, as fast as a hummingbird. They could be on that deck. Oh, that's the other thing they do. They jump on the deck at nighttime. They leap the deck, top of the deck railing, is 6 feet off the ground, maybe 7. They jump on the deck over top of the railing of the deck, and then they run across it, and then they jump across. And our you're going to like this one, our middle of our yard, where it's fenced in, it's like a black painted chain link fence, and it has a gate on each side. On each side of the gate, something has been jumping over the fence, where the fence, it almost looks like if something was running on all fours and ran. I don't know. It's got like, how to explain it. Okay, if you take your hand and you push on a screen real hard, and you can and then you look and see like where you pushed out the screen but it didn't pop out. Does that make sense? Where it's kind of indented outwards.
Yes.
That's what they've done on the fence. And it wasn't like that when they moved in. And it's getting worse. And the top of the rod of the fence that holds the chain link fence together is slowly getting more pushed down in the ground, and pushed down in the ground, and pushed down in the ground. And all the black paint now, that I'm sure it was made that way, is now all starting to just come. It's not on there anymore. So it's like I think they make a game of it. I think they run and they try to jump over the fence, and sometimes they miss. I don't know what they're doing.
It's definitely getting weirder and weirder. On this new property, are you hearing any sounds that shouldn't be there? Anything that's just confusing at night, or anything that, you said you heard language before, things like that?
We have heard during the day. It was a Saturday afternoon. We had unpacked a bunch of stuff, and we were. It was like 2:00 in the afternoon. We were taking a nap, and it was cool. I want to say March of this year, and we opened the living room window. Well, in the back, it's where that garage building is, and the pond, and that big holler where the cave is. All of a sudden, we both are awakened to this, oh, whoa, and it lasted for like 35 seconds. It was so long. We were looking at each other like, okay, first we're just, okay, it's just some crazy redneck out in the woods, maybe drank a little bit too much or stumbling around. First of all, I don't even know where he would come from because there's nothing back there. Those woods go for they go all the way to Bowling Green, which we're like, 30 miles from. And there's like, it goes a long ways. And we heard that, and we were like, okay, when's it going to stop? Like, we're just looking at each other like, when? I'm like, finally it stopped. I'm like, did you hear that? He's like, yep, I heard that. And he's been back there, and he said that he has heard talking. And I'm like, well, what were they saying? He's like, I don't know. I couldn't understand I'm like, what do you, like, what? He's not as good as descriptive and explaining things like I am. I go really into depth explaining things, obviously, because I'm a very visual person. He's more of a mechanical person. And he is like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what did it sound like? What do you mean you can't explain it? He's like, it just sounded like talking, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'm like, you couldn't hear it? He was like, kind of like I couldn't hear it, but also at the same time, like I didn't, it was like it was a different language. Both of us have heard, like, this is going to sound really weird, like the rest hasn't, drums. And we heard this in Tennessee too, almost like Indian drums, but very, like, not super loud and not medium, like light to medium sounding, but drums, like something playing like a rhythm of Indian drums. And we're like, Mike, and first we thought, okay, maybe we're just hearing it, maybe it's just our hearing. Then our granddaughter came and spent the summer with us, and she was like, hey guys, I'm hearing Indian drums. What, do you guys have a place around here where people play Indian drums? And we looked at each other like we knew it. I'm like, no, sweetie, it's just somebody down the street. I wasn't going to tell her and make her scared, but she heard it too. And sometimes it's very faint, but sometimes it's loud, and it's in a rhythm. It's definitely in a rhythm, like it's playing Indian, like an Indian drum. And we've heard that here in India and in Kentucky. I mean, and in Tennessee, not Indiana. When I was in Tennessee, and I was going to take that walk the day that thing, whatever it was, I guess the Bigfoot followed me, I was getting ready to get my dog on a leash, and I think I did send you this picture. There was, I don't know, I just felt like something was there. I didn't even see anything yet or hear anything. And I turned to look, and I sent you a picture of this one. Right on the corner, in the front of our house in Tennessee, the road kind of turns like a U shape, and then like an elbow in the road, and then it goes down to the reserve. There was a water drain there, of course, from all the water that runs off the mountain, and it drains into the reserve water, the lake over there. Well, I looked and I saw this little, like 2-foot little creature standing on top of this, I don't want to say it, so it sounds so crazy, on top of this pipe. And I happened to have my phone in my hand, and I already had it on camera just in case something happened. So all I had to do was just hit it with my thumb. So I didn't even turn away. I picked my phone up really quick and I didn't have a chance to aim. I just clicked a whole bunch of times, and I was able to capture 2 pictures of it. But I saw it with my human eye, not just like you can see things on your phone. Sometimes you can't see them through naked eye. It looked like it had a squirrel face, like, squirrel's eyes are kind of small and round, and it looked like it had squirrel ears, but it was wearing like a white robe. I sound like I need to be committed. Oh God. It sounded, oh gosh, it looked like it was wearing a white robe and holding a spear, but it looked like tissue paper. Like if you, at Christmas time, like white tissue paper, you'd wrap something in fragile so it wouldn't get broken. That's like the color it was. I could kind of see through it, but not all the way see through it. And as soon as it saw me, it was standing on the water drain, right on top of this water pipe. And I guess I don't know where it came out of, because as soon as I looked, it was standing on there holding a spear and had a robe, like a cape or robe, because I saw it hanging down. The spear was in front of it, and it looked right at me. And I was like, I was in shock. I didn't even know what to think. So I just took my hand, I didn't look away. I took my hand as quick as I could and lifted my phone up. And I already had it on camera because of the Bigfoot stuff going on. So I just took, and I already had my thumb ready. So I just started snapping pictures. And I was able to capture it on there twice, standing on top of the drain. And if you zoom in, it does look like a little squirrel face and like it's holding a spear. And I circled it, and I'm pretty sure I sent you a couple of those pictures.
I'm pretty sure that you did as well. I'm going to have to look back through our correspondence for sure after this. You'd mentioned that
I sent you so many.
they're really good. There's you mentioned in the first part with Tennessee that you had unmarked vehicles on your property. Has that happened again in this area in Kentucky, or hopefully that's something you haven't had to deal with?
It has, but only once.
Okay.
And I'm really hoping, and that was why I really didn't want to, show my face on it, because my husband's scared about that too. We have known a couple. I'm not trying to make Harley scared worse. I had a good friend, Claudia Ackley, unexpectedly have a heart condition, and did you know her? You hear about her?
Unfortunately, I was never able to talk to her because that was before I got into the subject.
Yeah. And there's two other people unexpectedly, and they were having a lot of, and it's scary. The government could do anything they want to do to your stuff, and I'm not sure. We're not trying to lose our home and be homeless or anything else, or have our bank account froze, which they would be sadly disappointed, but it's scary. But I also want people to know to not be afraid to come forward, because there really are things out there that your human eye cannot. There's things out there that we're just not aware of, and I think if the government made people aware of them, and then it's our choice. If we choose to still go in the national park and go hiking for 3 weeks by ourselves deep in the mountains, and that's up to us. But I think we should have the right to choose whether we want to put little kids at risk, or our elderly, or put our own selves at risk. That should be our choice, not for them to choose. I think they definitely know, 100% know. And it's almost like that these beings, whatever they are, have the government can't control them. They can't control what they do. They can shoot them. They can, they can kill them, because I know that they are flesh and blood. I know that for sure because I've seen them, and they've left footprints, I went to the Bigfoot Smoky Mountain Conference a long time ago. It took me 2 years to first even want to talk to people, and a couple people kept trying to get me, and I was too scared of being laughed at and ridiculed because I had been before, and now, and I heard all these people go missing. I don't want to not talk anymore, because I want people to know, so they have a choice. Just be aware and be careful. And I saw something yesterday. Some lady said, it's not fair. It seems like the more that the people want to see them and go hunting them, they can't see them. And then those of you guys that don't want to see them, you're the ones that do see them. Well, let me tell you something. It has changed my entire life. It has changed my husband's life. It has changed our animals' lives. I would never go. I don't want to go kayaking anymore because I know they can swim. I'm scared to go. I used to go hiking all the time. I can't. I got a bad knee, and it doesn't bend all the way, so I got a bad knee replacement. But I used to go hiking with my dog alone all day long. I don't do anything like that anymore. Like, it got to the point in Tennessee where I wouldn't even leave the house. It got so bad in Tennessee, Jeremiah, I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't even leave the house. I was that scared. When we got out of there, because I knew there were so many of them, that I just didn't want to go anywhere. I was just scared. And now, I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to hurt me, they could have. And I just feel like my relationship is stronger with God now. And I feel like I'm protected. Like, I just don't feel, I'm not saying they can't hurt me. I'm saying that they don't want to, because I'm not trying to hurt them. And I think if you're not trying to hurt them, I wouldn't speak for all the Bigfoots. I really can't speak for any of them, but just from experience, I think if you're not trying to hurt them and they don't see a weapon in your hand, they're not going to hurt you. But like they did tell me when they did talk to me in my head the second time, and I know it was not me. They said there are many of us, some good, some bad, just like people. And I truly believe that. I do believe that there's some good, some bad. You know, over our experience, my husband said, and I think he had a good point. He's like, I think there's some that they just get like rogue males that just are not abiding to their tribe, their troop, their family that they're in, their rules, and they just get kicked out. You know, like a rogue bear in the national forest, the national park, the Smoky Mountains. They just not abiding to the rules, and they just get, taken out. I think that's what happens with a lot of sometimes these Bigfoots, and those are the ones that are bad.
Yeah, I agree. And, I would love it if you'd be able to talk to the audience for a minute. Do you have any advice for people that are experiencing things similar to what you've conveyed during this interview? What should they do?
Well, it depends. I guess it depends on what's happening. If they feel like they're in danger, we moved, but not everybody can move. I would go out there and I would talk to them, and I did that. I did that in Indiana, and I did that in Tennessee, but I hadn't had enough experience in Tennessee to know how to deal with them and know what to say. I've done that here, and I've done that in Indiana, and I went out there, and you cannot feel any fear when you talk to them, because they can sense if they are, I only believe they can do that if they are close enough to you. They can sense your emotions, and I do believe not all of them, but some of them can read our minds if they're within close proximity. So before you go out there, you cannot feel any fear. And, maybe just have a family member not go with you, so it's not like you're trying to be all big and bad and bully them. But just have a family member watching out the door or the window for you, and go out there and just talk very firmly and very sternly. And I pointed the other day and I yelled, and I said, I was pointing at the woods, and I said, you do not climb on this roof. You do not climb on this building. You do not tear up our fence, not terrorize my animals anymore. I said, it stops right freaking now. And I said, and I mean it stops. Do not do it again. And I said, I know you can hear me. And when I've done that before in Indiana, it stopped. They did stop jumping on top of the farmhouse roof. They didn't do it to the new roof. And they've stopped so far since I've done it here. They have stopped. They'll stop for a couple days, and it's either new ones coming in and doing it again, or they just decide to try your patience again. So I would go out and talk firmly and sternly to them, and don't show any fear, and point and yell and tell them you mean business. And it's worked. It's worked for me twice. I've had to go out and do it again, but it does work.
That is great advice. Thank you
so much for sharing that.
Other than
that, I think they're going to do what they want to do. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Other
true.
than that, I don't think there's much else we can do, because I think they're going to do whatever they want to do. But I think they do have some respect for people that, will speak to them, acknowledge that they're there. Hey, I know you're here, but you stay off of this. And I would not suggest feeding them. I can tell you that right now, because they were getting fed by accident, and they were, oh yeah, it was a huge problem. They banged on this roof and this garage roof in our house for months, all night. Think about you're trying to sleep, Jeremiah, and somebody's banging on your garage door all night long, like as hard as they can, all night long. And who are you going to call? The Bigfoot police? No, not hardly.
Yeah, there's no Bigfoot
That's what,
police that we know of. But
no. That's the only advice I think that I can give, and it would work. And when I prayed that night, and they were at the door and they talked to me in my head, when I said, "Okay, Carrie, calm down, go get your gun," and that's when they said, "Do not bother, or don't bother. It will not do any good against us." And then, of course, I started laughing, which didn't help, probably. Probably didn't help the situation. But what else are you going to do, right? What if they're right? So I prayed. I said, in the name of Jesus, you're to leave this property. In the name of Jesus, you need to leave. You are not welcome here. You need to leave. It got dead silent. Quiet, deafening quiet. Quieter than I've ever heard. Quiet. So, and that worked too. Does it work all the time? No. But I think with both of those, I've been able to keep things a lot calmer, where I'm not afraid to go outside anymore. I'm not afraid to walk down to the garage anymore, stuff like that. They left me, I stuck a Bible in the window here for them too, and they left me a wooden cross out of a tree bark that they tore off, 40 feet in the air. And they made me a wooden cross, and this thing, I don't even know it's hanging there. It might even be old fishing line. It looks like it's hanging there right behind 10 feet behind our garage building on our property, hanging in the air, a wooden cross. They made me. I think I sent you a picture of it. That is mind blowing. It's literally just hanging there, and it's invisible. It's got to be fishing line, because I don't even see how it's hanging there. You can see nothing it's attached to. I know, right?
Carrie,
I think some people, they're just more attracted to than others, and I don't know why. But trust me, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, and I wouldn't. Some people, they want it, but I would, be careful what you ask for, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it, and you can't undo it. There's no going back, unfortunately.
That is what I hear, and I think you're absolutely right. But it has been a pleasure talking to you today, and thank you so much for sharing everything that you've experienced. And I want to invite you to do something, and listeners as well. If you go to bigfootsocietypodcast.com, there's a new section at the top where you can leave a voice message. And Carrie, if you ever experience any stuff, you can easily leave a voice message there, and then I can play that on the show to do a little update, and you can always send me messages as well as we've been talking. But
sure.
Yeah, but listeners, if you have something that you want to share and you want to leave a voicemail, you can do that over at bigfootsocietypodcast.com. If it's a long story, you can just share multiple parts, go in and leave multiple voicemails. But Carrie, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm sure we'll be talking again.
And I hope I can help at least one person, anybody. One person would mean the world to me compared to what I've been through. That would be a blessing.
Yes, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Jeremiah. You have a blessed day.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed, share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's the list. All right, Bigfoot Society, if you have an encounter that happened in the same area that Carrie was talking about, the Rankin Bottom, Newport area, please reach out to me, bigfootsociety@gmail.com. You can put stuff in the comments, but please reach out to me. Also, if you want to leave a voicemail, go to bigfootsocietypodcast.com. It's up at the top. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.
her and I can get on here and we can tell our stories. Maybe there's somebody else out there listening that's too afraid to tell their story. Maybe this will give them the courage to come out and not feel so bad about it. Who cares what anybody thinks? I know what I saw. I know what's out there. That's all I care about.
Please let people know. Please let them know. If you ever see one of these things, you need to tell. Because if you don't, then shame on you. You know? Shame on you.